PyramKing. I'm really excited to show you the new updated Berez Hex Crawl here in Foundry. Now we're going to be looking at this in Foundry. This is available to all of my donating members. If you want to be a donating member and support me in this epic project, not only in Legends of Barovia, but Legends and Saltmarsh, get access to everything. You can become a member by clicking on that membership link down below. Now all of the things that you see here are available for free in PDF. I'll put a link to the Berez Hex Crawl in PDF. So if you're playing this on the tabletop in person, or you're playing on Albert Rodeo or another system, all that stuff is there for you to go ahead and use. Now, first of all, I want to give a special shout out to Harrison, because it was Harrison's inspiration and idea for doing a hex crawl in Berez. He's one of the first people to run Curse of Strahd in Foundry back during version 6, I believe, as he started. So he's a huge inspiration for me, and this idea comes from him. Now, I did this a couple of years ago, and now we've updated. We've added some new art, new tokens, new rule tables. I got a lot of great input and feedback from our supporters in this project, and I want to show you this new version. So I'm really excited about it. Now, I want to point out one thing. While this is a hex crawl in Berez, the hex crawl mechanic in Foundry can be used in any system. So whether you're running Shadow Dark, and by the way, all of our Foundry Adventure modules are also system agnostic. So if you're running Shadow Dark or Shadow Bane or Karen or Pathfinder 2, we have that available. All of this stuff is available in system agnostic. But if you want to use this hex crawl mechanic, you can do this with your own maps or your own terrain or anything. So I want to show you how I set this up first, and then we're going to get into all the stuff we've done with Berez and using the tile triggers, all the new maps and roll tables. Really excited here. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a token for your party and your players. And I have one right here on the map. I'm going to show you here. And the first thing we're going to do is when you select that token, over here, you're going to right click on it and configure ownership. And we want to make all the players the observers. So all the players can observe this token, and you're going to give one player the ownership. So one player is going to be able to move the token, but all the players are going to observe the token. And what I recommend doing, because we're going to have Hex Crawl turns, is at the end of each turn or after something happens, give each one of your players a chance to control the token. So that's it. You're going to put the token on the map. All the players can see it, one player can control it, and that's how you're going to set up the configure of ownership. So how does it actually work? Well, I have the instructions here. Again, the instructions are in the free PDF guide, and let me just show you that here. There we go, Berez, Hex Crawl. Oh, we're in the battle map section. I got to go to the journals. Okay, so in here, you're going to give the players 10 exploring points. Now, you can do this really simple, or you can add more nuance and more rules to it based on the environment and the terrain. But technically speaking, to keep it simple, you're going to give them 10 points. And every time they move their token, it counts as 1 point. So movement costs 1 point. At the end of all 10 points being expired, their Hex Crawl turn ends, and you can change player. Now, during that Hex Crawl turn, you as the game master or the dungeon master are going to determine, do they discover anything? Are there random encounters? Is there an obstacle that they face? So they're going to get a turn as they're exploring the map, and you're going to make those determinations if they discover something or something happens. And there's some rule tables will explain that. There's also a lost mechanic. Now, if you want to add more nuance to this, you can by making it cost more to move. And you can do that here by environmental modifiers. Maybe it's foggy. Maybe you're up in the snow and there's a blizzard, so there's cold conditions, and it costs 2 points to move per hex. You also have different terrain features like road or mud or trails. So you can make the cost of movement more or less. You also have the ability to explore a hex. And so you can say, hey, if you spend one of your points to explore, you can roll this table to see, hey, did they find anything? Maybe they find something, and we'll talk about what we'd be able to find. So I have a table here. Perhaps they learn something about a place that they're looking for. They roll on the explore, and they say, oh, you found a path to the old temple that you're looking for. Or perhaps they find nothing, or a clue about a random encounter. So I have that table, this table specifically for Berez, but this gives you kind of the overall concept on how to do this. Now, one of the questions that you might be asking yourself, how do we create that experience of getting lost in a hex crawl for you and your players? And we can do that really simply here in Foundry. I'm going to show you how to do that by showing you both the player and the the player screen as well as the GM screen. So we have the player over here on the right, and the player's moving around, right? And we've decided, for whatever reason, you can roll in Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to roll. They're deep in the swamp, and they've left the trail, and they've left any signs of life. And so you're going to say, once per Hex Crawl turn, you're going to say you're going to need to roll a survival check. And if you fail, you're going to be lost. So they've explored the map. Let's move them around some more. They're all over this map. And you can see as they're moving, they're exposing more of the map, and they're getting more familiar with the world that they're in. But now they're deep into the swamp, and you're going to say, well, they failed their survival check, they're lost. How do we run this mechanic and have that experience online? And we do it very simply by, the first thing we do as a dungeon master, and I got easy step-by-step instructions. So over here, we get that token. Let's find that token. We're going to right-click on the token, make it invisible, and watch what happens on the player screen. So I right-click and I make it invisible. Their token disappears. The next thing you're going to do is on the Game Master is going to run, the Dungeon Master is going to roll a 1d6. And that's going to determine the direction. So we have 2. That's off in this direction here. You can see right here I've got a picture of which direction that the players are going to get lost. The next thing you're going to do is roll a 1d4 to find out how far away they've moved from where they were before. So I'm going to roll our 1d4. So they've moved off in this direction 3 tokens. So I'm going to take their token and 3 hexes. I'm going to take their token, I'm going to move it there. So I've moved their token randomly based on this lost mechanic. One of the directions up anywhere from 1 to 4 hexes. And if you want to make it longer, you can. In this particular game, each hex represents 100 feet. And the player has a vision of approximately 300 feet, or the party token does. Now, the next thing you want to do, you don't have to do this. It depends on how cruel you want to be to your players and how much they discovered, or if you really want to give them that sense of being lost, what you're going to do is you reset the Fog of War. So you've moved their token, and you reset the Fog of War. So now their screen goes black. And then you click back on the token, and you make it visible again, and all of that Fog of War that they discovered is gone. Now they're truly lost. So what happens is the experience that you're giving to the players is they don't know where they are. You've moved the token randomly on the map, not too far from where they were, but everything that they did remember is now gone. This really creates this tension with the players. It creates frustration, and that's what you want to do. You want the players to be frustrated. They got lost, and imagine in real life, and to add that verisimilitude, the players are getting lost. So that's how you run that lost mechanic. It's really simple to do. You make the token invisible, determine a random direction. You can do that by rolling a 1d6, determine how far, move the player token, reset the Fog of War, and then make their token visible again. If you don't want to be as harsh as that, don't reset the Fog of War and just move the token somewhere. I'll just show you so you can see what that experience is like. So let's say they're moving around and they've discovered these ruins here, and they get lost in the ruins, and they have all of this history that they've traveled. All you have to do is, again, make the token invisible, randomly move the token maybe up here, and make the token visible again. And so they still have this history, and then they just know where they are. And if it depends on your player group how frustrated they will be with this. I prefer to erase the Fog of War because I really want to give them that experience of truly being lost. So that's really simple how you run the mechanic. Now let's talk about specifically what we've done here in Berez, and I want to talk about the Berez map a little bit so that you're familiar with it. And I have a map key here so we can take a quick look at it. So here in Berez, we have the ruins of Berez here in the north, and you can see this. This map, by the way, is available on DM Andy's Patreon page. as well. I'll put a link to Diamandi's Patreon down here. So we have the ruins here in the north. We have some specific location, such as the church, the goat pen, the manor, and the stone circle. We have 2 floating locations. That's up to you. As you know, I've created a new location called the Bullywug village. You can place that somewhere on the map. I'll give you a suggestion where I would place it. And also, Baba Lysaga's swamp hut's going to be moving around here somewhere on the map. So when and where you want them to discover that hut is really up to you and through this experience as they're crawling through Berez. My particular place where I would set up the Bullywug village would be somewhere south of here. This is the Luna River cutting right through the middle of the map. So somewhere south of here, you can see there's the stone circle over here. You can see these ruins here in Berez. There's the goat pen, there's the ruined manor and the church and the graveyard, some more ruins up here. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to be talking about random encounters. So as we talked about that hex crawl procedure, right, you're going to run to determine once per turn if they're going to have a random encounter. And there's a couple of ways that you can do this. Some of you may really want true randomness in your random encounters, and some of them may want pre-random encounters. I fall into the latter camp. There's no right way or wrong way to do this. I kind of like to watch the pacing of how the players are doing in here, and then decide on a type of encounter that best fits the context of that situation. Or you can run per each one of their hex crawl turns a 1d6, and then on a 1 or a 2 a random encounter occurs. It's up to you. Now, we have 2 types of random encounters here. We have 4 encounters in the ruins. We're going to go through each of those. And then we have, I believe, 6 encounters in the swamp. We also have 5 discoveries as well as obstacles. So let's go through the discoveries first. So I do have in here on the explorer points, if they explore, they can find one of these things. We have the discoveries, the dead body, the dead knight, the old barrel, the old chest. We also have it running on the in the random encounters. So we have 2 random encounters. We have the swamp encounters. So I have a swamp table here. So if you're in the swamp, you can roll a 1d12 and it tells you what kind of random encounter you're going to get, whether it's discovery, an obstacle, or an actual encounter. And there's 3 types of encounters, and let me talk about what the difference is between those. A discovery is when you're going to just find something, a dead body, an old chest, an old barrel, something like that, a grave site where the players can have more of an exploring encounter. Let's investigate the dead body or the grave. And so it's not a combat encounter. The second type of encounter you have is an obstacle encounter, and we'll talk about those. That's where the player's facing an obstacle. And again, this can be more theater of the mind, but they've got to find a solution. We've got quicksand, mud, bugs, and a falling tree as an obstacle type of encounter in which the players have to deal with. The last one is actually a combat encounter. It includes battle maps and creatures. Not all of them are necessarily combat encounters. They can be social encounters, and we'll talk about each one of those here. So those are the 3 types of encounters a player can experience in this hex crawl. So let's talk about the 5 discovery encounters. And what I wanted to do in this updated version is make this easy for you to run. So for the game master, the dungeon master, you've got your hex crawl map, and I've got these buttons on the side. So when your character's running, whether you want to run one of the random tables like I showed you over here, like the swamp encounters, and run it, and just roll on and say, okay, at this point, we're going to just randomly select one, or if you want to manually select one. So let's go through the old barrel encounters first, or the discovery encounters first. If I roll on this table here, and I can do that here, just show you, I roll on here 1d12. Comes up a 3. I select the discovery here, the dead knight. Now, rather than clicking on here, I have a button over here. You can see I've got the dead knight right here. By clicking on the dead knight, I double click on the button, and that brings up the theater of the mind map, as well as the journal entry for the dead knight. Now, I have a button up here called player tokens, and if you click on the player token button, double click on it, it will pull in once you have all your player tokens into the screen. So if you actually do have player tokens, I don't have any players right now, but if I did, all their tokens would pop up here on the screen. or you can drag and drop them in here. So now all the players are seeing this common frame of reference, this dead knight here, and you have some read aloud text, and then you can decide, you know, as they're investigating to discover the body, you can roll a 1d10 to find out what they find. There's plate armor, longsword, an amulet, a shield, mace, dagger, or nothing. So this is a discovery encounter. Now we have, if I go back to the Berez Hex Crawl, we have the old barrel. Double click on that. We got the old barrel encounter where they find something in there. You have the dead body encounter. The dead body has an interesting dagger. It's an old dagger. It's uncommon. It warns you of danger, so you cannot be surprised. So some of the things they find might have a magical element. Again, you can change these roll tables if you want to. These are the ones that I've put in here. We have the old chest discovery where you find an old chest in the swamp. We got a strange stone in there. It's actually a cursed luck stone. It's a good one. The silver raven figurine, small jar of restorative ointment, shield, mace, dagger, and then the last of the discovery ones that we have is the old grave. So again, this automatically populates, brings in the theater of the mind map, and a roll table, and you can click on that button to bring the player tokens into the screen and go ahead and run your role-playing session in here. And we have some investigation, what it reveals. This one has a really cool old skull, cursed old skull, so you can do speak with the dead on here. So next up we have is obstacles, and I want to cover those up as well. So you double click on obstacles, and we have one of 4 different obstacles. We have quicksand, mud, the old cypress tree collapse, or pesky insects. If you hear that in the background, it's my cat. When I talk, my cat... Hey! Sorry about it. Usually she comes in here and sits with me. Oh, there she is. I'm right here. Anyway, we have quicksand. If you click on the quicksand, it goes through there. So the players get stuck. The players are going to have to role play on how they're going to get out of that. And you have a theater of the mind map here in which you can run that obstacle in. So we have an old cypress tree falling that can damage, creates bludgeoning damage. We have pesky insects. We have mud where they might lose something or get stuck a turn, or quicksand. You got to figure out how to get the player out of quicksand. So those are the obstacles, but let's jump into the encounters. And I divided up the buttons up here. So we got the 4 ruins encounters, and we have our 6 swamp encounters. Now the ruin encounters, you want to run that up here in this part of the map where you see these ancient ruins. And again, you can determine when you want to run one of these. You can randomly roll to determine which one of these that you want to run, or you can just select one. Let's go through each of these really quickly because I'd like to give you a little bit of nuance on how each one of these runs. When you click one of these buttons, double click on them, it's going to bring up the theater of the mind map first before the battle map. And I'm going to tell you why it does that first, because it gives you a little bit of breathing room to set things up. So you can move the characters onto the theater of the mind map, talk about what they see, and then you can get open up the battle map, and then you can set the battle map up the way you want to. So the first one here in the ruins is we have out of phase. So I double click on that. It brings up the theater of the mind map here. And in the battle map, it tells you about the objective. In this particular one, you've got this night warning about the Spider Queen. The Spider Queen is another adventure from Legends of Barovia that's near both Argynvost and the swamps of Berez. It's an upper level adventure with the Spider Queen and Spider Revenants. It's really cool. It's part of this Legends of Barovia package. But the knight warns about the Spider Queen, the Spider Revenant, so that they hear this kind of ghostly whisper. However, they're going to be ambushed by these phase spiders. So you have this theater of the mind map. You can bring your characters in here and go ahead and run this and read a little bit about it and what they're hearing and role play. I also have in the ruins the pixie encounter. So in each one of the ruins, they can see a pixie and they can go and engage with the pixie. And to run that, you just double click on the pixie encounter button. And what the pixie will do is going to tell you something, give you a clue about it. Now, if you want to fight the pixie, you can, but the pixies are there living in the swamp. We double click on it. and a Pixie token appears on the screen. There's the Pixie token, and it says here, a Pixie floats before you and utters in a whisper. There's a roll table here. It says, not far from the church, amid the cloak of night, lies an ancient crypt, a monument to Marina. Beware, this place is not just a relic of the past, but a haven for creatures that shun the light, a nexus of danger and dark allure. That's a specific location that's going to be important later on when you get to the ruined church of Berez, and you need to maybe you're looking for one of the gems in the Fey quest or whatever. So it's actually a location with its own adventure in it. So the Pixies can give you some interesting clues in here, and you can roleplay this out beyond just what the Pixie's saying. Maybe the Pixie says this, and you can roleplay a little bit more interaction. Maybe the Pixie gives you a clue at where it is or not. So you can run this in your Theater of the Mind map. When you're ready to run the combat encounter here, and they want to go and explore the ruins some more, so that's up to the players. They go to explore the ruins. You're going to double click on the out of phase button up here, and that's going to launch the battle map. So we have our battle map here, and in the ruins battle map, the tokens are already on the map because there's 4 unique encounters in the ruins map, and there's 4 unique maps. So I have 1 map for each different ruins. In this one, you can see we've got the Pixie on the screen. One of the things I always do is I put my monsters on the screen, and they're invisible. So all the face spiders are invisible. I would place the player tokens down here somewhere below. Let's create a player token in here. I'm going to just create one because I want to show you something really cool we did with this in here. Player fighter. Let's call it player fighter. And we're going to give them a vision, 30 feet, enable vision. There we go. Update token. We're going to drag them on the map. Here is our player fighter. We have, I don't know if I can show you on this one. Yeah, maybe in this one it has it too. We have a high level for trees. So if you walk under some of the trees, you can see the tokens go under the trees, which is really cool. We've been doing this with our updates, so I really like this. It kind of adds a little bit of depth to this. It really shows up a lot better in the swamp maps. So here we have the phase spiders in here, and this is a combat encounter. Now, it's up to you on how you run your own combat encounters. The players don't have to kill everything. They can retreat in here, but you've got these 4 phase spiders in here to run. So let's go back to the next one here in the ruins. The next one here is we have a spooky place. We double click on that. Again, this brings up a Theater of the Mind map. You can run that Pixie encounter if you want to on here. And in this one, we have potential threats. We have a Banshee and ghouls in here. So if you hear some screeching, if you want to run the battle map, double click on Spooky Encounter. It preloads your battle map up. Again, I would put the player character tokens at the bottom of the screen. Again, we got some of these cool maps with map overlays with the trees, so you can actually walk underneath the tree branches. It adds a level of depth to the combat encounter, which I think is really cool. There's a couple Pixies on the screen. Again, I keep all my creatures invisible until they get close. We've got a couple Banshees up here and a ghoul, and another combat encounter in the ruins. Remember, these ruins here, Strahd destroyed this place. There's a history, by the way, in here if you want to know a little bit about the history of Berez, what happened here and all of that. Characters are going to start learning about this, obviously, as they explore Barovia. The next ruin encounter we have is the Horror. This one, there's 2 I really like: the Horror and the Jackle. So in the Horror one, there's a tower there's an old tower that's falling down in the ruins. And in this particular one, when you run the battle map, there's a lady here. She's visible right here. Now, secretly, she's a lost woman. Secretly, she's a Barovian witch. The players don't know this. And what happens here with the lost woman is she claims that her daughter is lost. She's in the tower somewhere. And so she's trying to lure the players over to this tower. And if she gets the players over this tower, we've got a pretty nasty creature in here. So like the players, and this is really cool too, because if the players go into the tower, they go underneath the spider web. You can see the spider web here, which is pretty cool. And you've got this horrible creature here called the Eye of Horror. Here it is. It's becoming visible here. look at this creature. The Eye of Horror is just nasty. And if I click on it, we've got special information about its stat block as well. So if you're running this in Pathfinder 2 or something, the stat blocks are in here. But look at this thing, right? It is just nasty. And it has these horrible effects. Like it drains the players. It has a lair action, blind horror, stun horror, and horror drain actions. It's a really cool creatures in here. And these Barovian witches, swamp witches, if you will, are trying to bring this creature, controlling this creature. So they're kind of like doing some kind of ritual in this old tower, and you've got this giant eye here that's trying to drain the souls and instill fear in the player character here. Really fun encounter, and you've got this lady that's going to try to fool the players to get them in there. So this witch is trying to, oh, my daughter's lost in there. I think she's there in the tower. I'm really too afraid to go in there. Please help me get my daughter. Really, it's a big trap. Beware of witches and swamps. That's the rule here. All right. Next up, we have the Were-Jackal, and I really like this one too. And the Were-Jackal, this is a great and fun encounter. Again, it brings up the Theater of the Mind map. You do have the Pixie roll table in here if you want to encounter with the Pixie. When we bring up the battle map here, is you've got this Jackal that's visible. And the thing with the Were-Jackal, and let me tell you about him, is his name's Jack the Jackal. And he has a story. He lives between two worlds, and he's just scared. Think about him as like this young boy that has got this kind of curse of being a jackal. And if the players help him get out of the swamp, both the were-ravens will take him in, or we have another place at the Raven River Bridge. The lady there will take Jack the Were-Jackal in there. However, you've got these scarecrows patrolling the ruins, so you got to be careful of these scarecrows. So this can be a social encounter, and then maybe an escort quest getting Jack out of the ruins and helping Jack. So we got these 4 really cool ruin encounters here. Let's go back to the map and we talk about our 6 Berez swamp encounters, and those are normally going to happen not in the ruins area, but kind of like down near the river or down in the swamp area. The first one we have is the Berez Lily. Double click on that. Oop. And I don't know what happened to the Berez Lily. Oh, I got the wrong button. I got to put on. There we go. Berez Lily. There it is. So the Berez Lily encounter has this unique monster in it called the Berez Lily, and it's a predator plant, super large predator plant. You're going to be dealing with the myconoids, which are kind of like the mushroom people on here, as well as swamp spores. So we got some new monsters and creatures in here. Berez Lily, the swamp spores are brand new for this encounter here. And let me show you those here. So first one is the Berez Lily. Here we got the stat block here. It has these grappling vines, and it's going to try to swallow. Think of this as like kind of a combination of a pitcher plant Venus flytrap. It's got these vines, so it's going to try to pull you into its like pitcher plant and digest the players inside of it. And it's huge. This thing is big. You also have the swamp spores here. And the swamp spores are these mushrooms that give off this kind of false appearance, but this once they destroy, they have this 20-foot radius, and the players have to make a Constitution saving throw. Otherwise, they're going to fall unconscious for 2d6 minutes. So you got to be careful of those. In here, you're also going to have the myconoids in here. So the way this works is a little bit different than the ruins encounters. So you double-click on this, you bring up the battle map. Instead of putting the monsters on the map, all the creatures for each one are on the side of the map. So in this map, we have 3 different encounters that you can use this map for. So up here, we have the Berez Lily and all of the creatures over here on the side of the map. All you have to do is click on the creatures and drag and drop them where you want to put them on the map before you bring your players in here. So don't bring your players into the scene yet. Don't bring the player tokens into the scene until you set up this up. So you can bring your monsters into the map. We've got the myconoids here. Here, I'll let you take a look at them. There they are. They're out here hunting swamp spores. Probably they like to eat the swamp spores. So maybe they're looking for the swamp spores, which are these mushrooms here that you can place all over the map. So set up your map first. I usually like for the swamp maps is put my characters, start my characters in the center of the map. So they have to just get to the edge of the map and they end the encounter, or they're engaging with all the creatures. So what I would tell your player is place them in the center of the map. Unlike the Ruins map, place them in the center, and the players have to kind of get off the map. But to get off the map, they have to get through these different types of creatures. In this one, you've got this Berez Lily. Now, depending on your party size, your party experience, your party levels, you can add more or less of these. You could have 2 giant Berez Lilies on here. And you can see they're pretty big, relatively speaking, to the Myconoids here. So they take up 4 hexes, these giant Berez Lilies. And they're going to try to grab onto the players and devour the players. Again, we have some really cool overlays. Again, this is Diamandi's battle map. Let's show you with the trees here. It's pretty cool. So the players can go under, as well as the creatures can be hiding under the tree. So you could have one of these adults here under the tree, and the players can kind of barely see them, and then they can hide underneath the tree, and you're like, oh, I know there's something under there. I don't know exactly what it is. So it's pretty cool to have these overlays. Kind of adds a little depth to the map. The next one we have is the which one is this one? Oh, the Silent Swamp. The Silent Swamp here again brings up Theater of the Mind map, and to bring them in. You can run combat in Theater of the Mind. I've done that sometimes before. If tactical combat's not that important and it's more of a one-on-one encounter, you can just drag your tokens in here and use, short range, long range, near, far in a Theater of the Mind experience and run your combat encounter completely in Theater of the Mind. But double click on here, you're going to bring up the swamp map here. And again, we got a different swamp map. We have 3 different encounters on this swamp map as well. This one includes the Awakened Tree. You got these beautiful tokens by Tisu. Drag them up on here and set it up. Again, we have the tree overlays, so the players can go behind the trees. Really creates that kind of 3D effect in here, which I really like, and it's really cool in here. Again, a beautiful map by DM Andy. The next one and this one has a toad in it, giant toad in here, and the Awakened Trees. The next encounter we have is the Troll Hunt, and I wanted to make the Troll Hunt dynamic. So let's show you what I mean by that. So let's get these creatures off the screen. In the Troll Hunt, we've got the troll, but we have the troll. I would put the players somewhere in the center of the map, maybe off the side. Like put the players over here. And then over here, you've got the Bullywug who are hunting the troll. So there's a battle going on between the Bullywug and the troll. The Bullywug are hunting trolls. So get your Bullywug on the screen. Again, there's a whole thing, a read aloud text with all the information on here to run this combat encounter, what they see. 6 to 8 Bullywugs in here. You got 2 Croaker Bullywugs, the troll, the swamp spore, the violet fungus. And they're fighting here the troll, and so the players can engage in this fight or something, or maybe the troll sees the players and starts attacking the players or something like that. So next up we have the next encounter we have in here is the giant spider. Let's get the giant spider in here. The giant spider, we have 2 giant swamp spiders and the acid spiders. Now, the giant swamp spiders are a new creature we've made specifically for the swamps of Berez. They've got web recharge. These are pretty gross. I want to show you something about them. They've got all these little baby spiders on them. So what the giant swamp spiders do is they're looking for food. And so all of a sudden, when they get close to another creature, the baby spiders will kind of swarm onto another one. So that's one of its special kind of attacks, is you've got these baby spiders on the giant swamp spider right here. Swarm of baby spiders. The creature's within 10 feet. The giant spider is caught in the web. The spider releases a swarm of spiders all over him. So it's a really cool thing. Imagine this kind of giant mommy spider with all the baby swamp spiders on it. We also have the small swamp acid spiders on this map in here. And they're like little spiders, but they have this kind of acid spray that they can recharge on there. And the acid spray does you have to do a DC 12 saving throw, or otherwise you suffer 3d6 acid damage from this acid spray of the acid spiders on there. So you got this giant spider encounter in here. I like this one, but we're coming up to one of my favorites in here I want to show you. So here we go on the... oh, I'm going to reload this. I'm on, what do you call it, the Forge right now. Oh, I just lost my connection. Let me just log back in. Sorry about that. So, because I'm using Forge to demo the player 2 versus player 1 in here. So in the Berez Hex Crawl, the next one is one of my favorites in here, and that is the Pesky Stirge. This one is really kind of to harass the players. So when you're running the Pesky Stirge, you got like these Stirges in the middle of the map here. Again, you set up the map first, pull your tokens on here. And so in the Pesky Stirge, we've got this giant kind of assassin vine. I'd put 2 of these on the map. We've got the swamp ooze who's kind of walking around in the water. And then you've got all these little Stirge. And I would just put the players in the middle and start them off right away with, you know, a bunch of these Stirge. You can just copy and paste them all over the map like this. Boom, boom, boom. And I just would have these things swarming the players. And I make the assassin vine invisible so they kind of run into it, because they don't notice it's an assassin vine, but they get near one of these big trees and the assassin vine comes out. So the Stirge is kind of like swarming and harassing the players. They're trying to get out of the way, and then they run into the assassin vine, or they run into one of these swamp oozes. A swamp ooze is just an ooze. I just made it a swamp ooze creature in here. So you got the swamp ooze, and I put the swamp ooze down in the watery areas down here. Okay, the last one is another really cool one I want to show you here, and that's the Vampire Flower. This is another creature that we've made in here. The Vampire Flower is a predator flower, and what I wanted to do in this one is I really like making the swamp dynamic. Like, it's not just the players walking around running into creatures, but the creatures in the swamp are fighting each other. Like, you had the Bullywug fighting the troll, you had the myconid mushroom people hunting for swamp spores, and one of the myconids is caught by the Berez Lily, and maybe you want to try to help the myconid. In this particular one, you're seeing something else. You're seeing the 2 behemoths of the Berez swamp fighting it out. So you've got this vampire flower here. I'm going to show you this. This is really cool. Let's set this one up. So they place the players in the center of the map, and you got these 2 huge creatures, and I would have them fighting it out. So you've got this swamp mound, this huge swamp mound, entangled up with this vampire blood flower in the swamp. And your player characters, I would start them really close by. Like, I'd have them like really close, and they're seeing this huge battle between these 2 creatures erupt in the swamp. Now, the swamp flower here is got these tentacles that are lashing out, and the tentacles, when they lash out, they suck your blood. So that's why it's called a vampire flower, because the flower itself, and we got an image of the flower, has these tentacles, and it's sucking the blood. That's how it lives. It's another one of these plants like the Berez Lily. This one's actually a blood-sucking plant. And it's got its tentacles wrapped around this giant swamp mound. So they're kind of fighting it out here. Maybe another swamp mound. Maybe you get another swamp mound, put it on the other side of the players, and it's approaching to try to rescue this swamp mound. So you can really make this an interesting dynamic. Like, maybe the swamp mounds ignore the players, or maybe the players start helping the swamp mounds. You know, so it's really up to you on how you want to run it. But I really wanted to have a more of a dynamic, living swamp. So one of the ideas I always suggest is it's not just creatures versus monsters, players versus monsters. These creatures are living in the swamp. How are they interacting with the swamp? The Bullywugs are hunting trolls. The myconid mushroom people are looking for those swamp spores. Maybe they harvest those, and one of the creatures in the swamp captures one of the adult myconids and tries to eat it. Or you're looking at these 2 swamp behemoths duking it out in the swamp. And so the players are experiencing this swamp come to life, this threatening swamp come to life, and are actually getting involved in it and seeing this swamp develop. Now, if you get to one of these principal locations in the swamp, and I talked about 2 of the floating locations. Let me show you the map key here so we can talk about it a little bit more succinctly. If we look at the map key of the map, we have the ruins here in the north part of the map. We have all the swamp counters down here. There's the stone circle over here. This is this is the swamp fair, the water phase stone circle. The goat pen, the church, the manor. We've got a couple more ruins here in the north. Players start up here in the corner, so if they're coming down past Argynvost, this is where they're entering into the Berez swamps. You have two floating locations, and the floating locations are the Bullywug village. I'm going to give you my suggestion where to put it on the map. That's a new location we've run for Legends of Barovia. It's in our Legends of Barovia Foundry. And then the other one is Baba Lysaga's Swamp Hut, which is always on the move. Now, my suggestion is for the Bullywug village is to place it randomly somewhere down here in the map. You don't have to place it right now. You can reveal it when the players find it. You can just say, hey, this is a good time for me to introduce the Bullywug village. So I would just place it down here somewhere and decide to reveal it when it's appropriate, if you want to reveal it. The other way the players get to the Bullywug village is maybe during that swamp troll encounter where the Bullywugs are fighting the swamp troll. The Bullywugs either capture the players and take them to the Bullywug village, or they befriend the Bullywugs and they take them to the Bullywug village. So we have an entire Bullywug map, an entire Bullywug encounter, a ceremony, all kinds of things you learn about the Bullywug and how they service and serve Baba Lysaga, and they go to the stone circle. So that's where I would place it, would be somewhere down here. Now, the Baba Lysaga encounter, the way I'd like to do that, it's all about pacing. I don't like to randomly have her hut show up. I want the players to explore the ruins a little bit more, explore that manor, find that church, maybe the stone circle. So depending on how long they've been there, what's going on in Berez is when you want to introduce it. I usually like to introduce her hut around the goat pens because it's a place that she's going to go and check out every now and then. So the way that you do that in the Berez Hex Crawl map is when they get to one of those principal locations, which we have all 6 of them here, you go ahead and click on it. So if they get to the church ruins, which is a static location, double click on the church ruins, and it brings up the Theater of the Mind map for that. And you can see the church ruins in the spooky mist. And then you can go ahead and load up the church ruins of Berez, which is right in here. So if you go to the Legends of Barovia 5e, you can see down here is in the Berez is you have your church ruins right here. So just double click on the church ruins and install it. And you're ready to go to run the church ruins of Berez encounter there. You have the same thing for the other locations. So we have the Goat Pen, Theater of the Mind map brings it up. And that starts the Baba Lysaga encounter if you want to run it here. We also have the Manor Ruins, which is a fixed location. The Berez Manor, Ruin Manor, which is really cool. There's some cool stuff in this one too. Again, that's another adventure module within Legends of Barovia. And then we have the village, the Bullywug village. This is really cool. Diamandi did a phenomenal job with this map. We've got a ritual going on in here. There's a guy who's being captured. He's going to be killed. You can rescue him. That's really cool. Then we also have the stone circle. So if you're doing that Fae quest, we got the Theater of the Mind. Again, this sets up a Theater of the Mind map. It's a great way to end a session here, by the way. So maybe they do some encounters or everything. You're running some counters, controlling that pacing. They find the stone circle, and you can in the scene with a Theater of the Mind map here and say, we're going to be running the stone circle the next session. So they found the stone circle. So some of these are great ways to end a session and then start the next session there at the stone circle, or the next session exploring the ruined church and doing Marina's Monument, or doing the manor, or doing the Bullywug village. Last one here is we have the Swamp Hut. And again, it brings up the Swamp Hut, and then you can decide either run that Swamp Hut encounter. We've got an entire adventure for that, or end your session here. It's a great way. I love using the Theater of the Mind maps to end a session. You got this picture. It kind of imprints on your players. Are excited for that next session. That's it, by the way, for the Berez Hex Crawl. Again, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for all of my supporters and helping me with this. The free PDF guide is in the link down below. If you want to become a member and getting access to all the Foundry module content, you can by clicking that membership link. It really helps me out creating all this content. I really appreciate it. And until next time, may all your rolls be critically successful. A special shout out, by the way, to my legendary members.